What's up, pimps and players? It's your boy Bro Fresco here
Welcome to
with
the
a
gamers.
new hot
my headset
podcast.
off.
Welcome to the WLTM
FM.
42
XM.
podcast. Not a podcast. I lied. It's not a podcast. For the record, YouTube show. That's what we are.
YouTube
Today we have
WLTM/FM.
There are if they're listening to this cruise, they're on the channel, which means that there's you wouldn't need to.
It's not a slash, it's a hyphen.
So today on the YouTube show we got your boy Cruz.
That's love oranges.
Cameron. and Alex.
Thank God it's Friday.
And myself, Jack. Vita means life.
Friday's just a
Friday
construct.
away.
state of mind.
If you believe in Friday, you're a slave to the feedback loop, I'm pretty sure.
No, I think if you believe in Friday, you're like religious. You know what I mean? Because I'm pretty sure my boy Jesus died on a Friday.
That's not
I think
even
that's,
Sunday.
It was lit Friday.
Party time Friday for the Romans. We got that stupid cult.
We killed Osama bin Laden.
Shout out Jesus.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Obama did not go on TV. He did not follow up on the Bush administration plan and go on TV and say we got him. That did not happen.
Yeah,
not
Obama's a
human
virgin.
history.
He didn't say it.
Well, I don't
whoever
think
that,
Obama
whoever that
himself,
Bush
like,
administration guy who said it is a Chad.
Didn't Obama go and like shoot him himself?
Yeah, of course.
That's presidents are supposed to do that. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the leader of the military, right? Y'all know I killed Sasquatch, right?
Is he blurry?
No, but I mean, like, I just can't show you any pictures of him, or else all the other Sasquatch and animal rights activists will get angry.
I was gonna say
And,
Sasquatch
and I can't show
Bigfoot.
you any physical evidence because I dumped his body in the ocean, but I killed Sasquatch. by the
Bigfoot is
way.
a variety of Sasquatch. Like Bigfoot's a specific Sasquatch.
Bigfoot's
you know?
a denomination,
Like,
but
yeah, not all
it's a blurry
Sasquatch
Sasquatch.
Not all Sasquatch have big feet, but all Bigfoots have Sasquatch.
Okay, I get it. I get it.
Doesn't Sasquatch that guy that taught Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving. You
Who wants to
Sasquatch
go
are weird.
No, that was Squanto. No, that was Squanto. That's my bad.
Let's go.
Who wants to talk about their album first?
Who's up first? Cameron, who's up first?
Well, you said my name.
Oh no.
What?
Go for it. Go for it.
So, preposterously dank. It's a big boy word. It gives me some trouble sometimes. Is the debut album by rapper Spose, hailing from Wells, Maine, which is a place in Maine.
I wouldn't have guessed.
This is the remastered version from I don't know what year, but the actual album came out in 2007. Even though Spotify says it's 2008, he very clearly says 07 in the song. So
Well,
Maybe he was making in 07, you know?
Well, maybe the remastered came out in 08.
I don't believe the remaster came out in 08 because I don't think it did. But I have no way of really knowing for sure.
You know, it could be that, like, he was making it in 2007 and it came out in 2008.
Yeah,
you know?
but I believe it came out in 2007. I can investigate.
Maybe you should investigate.
Yeah, maybe I should.
Before you do that, how did you find this album?
Because
why did you pick it?
Because shit, why did I? Oh yeah. I found this nigga from his one hit single. I'm awesome.
No, you're not, dude.
Which
Don't
is-
lie.
Yeah, and that song was such a big banger in the sixth
Holy
grade.
shit, that was
It
him.
literally was a
No!
hit. It was
This
literally
is
a
it.
hit.
In case I should have told you that before, but it's fine now that you know. Yeah, this is him.
You know what? I bought that song because Cameron fucking told me about it.
What?
There was 3 songs on my iPhone. It was "I'm Awesome," some Kesha song, and fucking something else. And I played that shit on repeat when I played Dark Souls 1.
But yeah, "I'm Awesome" is a good ass song, but that comes after this. So, anyways, I like that song so much. That's the first time I liked a musician, like unironically. It wasn't just like, and it wasn't just like some shit my sister listened to that I was like, I mean, fuck, I guess it's catchy from like elementary school. Like, this is the first musician that I ever actually liked. But anyways, I liked that song so much that I wanted to listen to his other shit, and this is one of that other shit. And so yeah, and I listened to it, and this shit big slaps. So, and I picked this album because it big slaps, and like, I don't know, this is just. It's a perfect mix. What the fuck is this? It's a perfect. What? Okay, hey, whatever. I'm not even gonna look at that monitor. It's a perfect mix between what? Like humorous rap and like kind of serious, and he actually just has bars the whole way through. Like, everything he says is just like a lyrical masterpiece. So,
what's your favorite line on the album?
Tell me.
It 418. Who the hell is this?
I like it.
I don't get it.
It's really that simple. The first verse of John Madden is my favorite verse I've ever heard in a rap song. It's actually just perfect. It tells the most amazing story. But that's what a 418. Who the hell is this from? I'm drawing blanks on any other bars from the album because
there's a lot of good ones.
I don't have a brain. There's a fucking lot of good ones. Oh, it might be the state of Maine sustains temperatures far below 30. Girls' nips get perky. I like that one because it reminds me of when Thomas told a girl that it's a bit nipply out here. But yeah, I think one thing that hinders this album slightly is the beats could be better, but they still do their job.
Are there beats?
Yeah.
You don't. There's not beats. There's only hot
Do you think
lines.
this is just acapella?
Hot bars. I think they do their job. I think they back it up. You know, they're there to fill in this this chasm, but he kills it enough to where they really don't matter.
Yeah. Alex, you were gonna say something before I cut you off 5 times in a row?
No, it was good. I was making an observation that I like the part on the album where he just talks with his friend on the phone about the ending of Harry Potter.
Which one was it? It's
Well,
not the
it was
end, right?
It was the half
ending of
part
Blood
one.
Prince.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it
Where
was
the
about
fuck did that come from?
Yeah.
like
Funny,
that part.
actually, important thing is that was not in the original version of the album. That they added that in for the remaster. Fun fact.
Shout out to the remaster, dude.
Yeah. It's actually like they put in a skit better than TJ Quit, which is wild. Actually, I don't think it's better than TJ Quit.
You ever buy that T-shirt?
I never bought that T-shirt. I was going to, but it was like a limited edition thing,
TJ
which is
Quit?
so sad.
TJ, where the
TJ
fuck did that come?
Where
the fuck did that come
It's out of
Oh
nowhere.
my
I don't know.
god.
He said it wasn't something about the company or nothing. It was just he had some shit going on. It's like, damn. I wish I could help you out, but I'm in Portland
I'm
till
in
like.
Portland till 7.
like
And then there's
7.
this beginning of That's That where it's just a voicemail of some dude talking shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck you, Spose. Fuck,
Fuck
yo, you know
you,
what? I'll
Spose.
fuck you up. Fuck you. It just fuck. It just says fuck.
That's so good.
So
Dude.
personally, I think this album is a really good keystone of like what white, like predominantly internet transmitted rap was in like the mid 2000s, and I mean that in the most like
Late 2000s.
mid to late 2000s.
Yeah, mid to late.
Like this, like, and I mean that in the most complimentary way possible. Like this is probably in my top, I would say probably 10 favorite rap albums of all time.
So
Spose has heat. The beats, it's not, but it's like the thing to acknowledge, like by today's standards, the beats aren't like, there's not a lot of bass and banging and shit, but
it's still better than Blueface beats.
I like what he does with the beats. I think it's interesting at least.
Like Blueface beats?
I'm not talking about Blueface this
Like,
podcast.
I think it's interesting. Like I like when on the Jug Skills, Money and Liquor, it's just the guitar riff from Say It Ain't So.
There's so many ripped guitar riffs. There's one from Zeppelin. There's one from
There's one from I think when he mentioned the song that he mentioned, the Smashing Pumpkins on, I believe that's the bass riff from this song. I could be wrong. I didn't check.
One of the 100% probably. That's what it is.
But I also really like the beginning of the song Under Control. I like that part a lot. I don't know why. I just like the flow of it. I think it's good. But favorite song on the album, Drugs, Girls, Money, and Liquor. Favorite third favorite rap song of all time, Drugs, Girls, Money, and Liquor.
We should say that Alex. I've showed him this album before, so he's listened to it.
That song slaps. I've never had a song that I both don't and completely identify with at the same time. In another life, I think that was gonna be me. Fuck It's a good song as well. Just just welcome to Sunny Wells, Maine, and pass me the blunt. Well, the one weakness I would say of this album is that the first 5 songs on the album are like 15 times as good as the next 6 songs on the album.
You
personally
really think so?
Wait, you don't like the outro?
Personally, to me, everything past Under Control, like, is half as good as the stuff that came before it, but in the way that means like everything that came before it is like, a 20, or let's go out of 100. Everything that came before it's like 200, and the rest of it's like a 99. Like
I think this song stays
still good, but I think that the first half of the album is more is just better than the second half of the album to me.
Mm-hmm.
Personally,
I really think it stays consistent the whole way through.
I came in here thinking that I would not be alone in very much disliking this album.
Oh no! You see, you're trolling because I already know Alex likes that album.
You're the minority.
And this
before
is
you
like
continue,
this
Jack, what I want to say, when I was playing RuneScape like 13 hours a day from like 6th to probably 9th into 10th grade, I had I'm Awesome on loop. I had a whole YouTube playlist, and I had a couple. Like the thing is, I remembered some of these songs. I remember the song "Goddamn" because I think that like in 2009 or 10 when I was playing a lot of RuneScape and shit, like I remember like seeing that on my recent thing and just hearing it, and like that's the vibe for the album for me. Maybe it's nostalgia that makes me think it's so good, but I really just like it. Like I like the whole album. He's got when you rate hip hop music. Hip hop music is like flow, beats, wordplay.
Beats and
And
stuff.
I'm gonna have to disagree with that.
No, like there's 3 like.
Oh shit! I
That's the triangle.
I thought you ranked him.
No, that's the triangle, and then it's like maybe you can pick 2, but usually it's like you have one that's really good, and the rest of it like kind of puts the triangle of. Spose has got the wordplay, and the flow is good too. The beats are but it's like the beats aren't supposed to be like the carry point on the album.
That would be my priority list is
like, for the
wordplay,
time,
flow, beats.
For me now, it's probably beats, wordplay, flow, because I think flow is like, I don't know, it's weird, but I think that as the person who probably listens to the second most hip hop in here, behind probably Cameron, if we're gonna go for all time at least, I think that Spose is doing good justice to the white rapper name. I know he didn't do anything with Daft Punk, so I know Jack's not going to be a super fan.
Yeah, no
this
six
album
allows.
is the worst album anyone has picked on this podcast before.
No.
It made me
I don't understand.
So angry while listening to it.
I actually I'm confused. Wait, everyone just let Jack talk for like 5 minutes.
Before he goes, one thing I just want to say really quickly. The other rap album we have in here is Blueface. Okay, so if you're
Blueface is better than this.
If you're claiming that Blueface is better than this, first off, I'm sorry to hear that.
The thing is, Blueface isn't technically even like funnier than this.
It's not.
Like,
It's
this
not
is
funny on
wittier.
accident
This
or
is
on
funnier than
purpose.
Blueface
No, no,
because
no,
it's
no.
like it actually
Okay.
has wit to it.
Here's the deal. Okay, so like
What kind of rap music do you
on,
listen to?
on like a scale from like 1 to 10, like this is a 1, and Blueface is like -1, so it wraps back around to 10. So that's why Blueface is better.
Yikes.
We're gonna not stick on the Blueface comparison because that's just like, okay, this album. First off, the sacrifices he makes to like flow and rhyme and like having any sort of point or making sense to do witty wordplay things is absurd. Like there's so much of him just like saying some line that's where the only point is like, oh look, this is like a reference, haha, I also listened to the Smashing Pumpkins, fellow kids. And so it's like, so like so I
Don't forget this came out in 2007.
yeah, I know.
Like he probably grew up on the Smashing Pumpkins. That shit's old as fuck. That's like
Yeah,
your
yeah,
dad's music.
I know. I'm just.
No Ice Like Summer, Bank Balance a bummer. Come on, dude. You can't really say that that's fucking forced.
It's just like every like he'll do like a couple good lines and they'll just say something that like just completely fucks it, and like I think
what? Like besides the Smashing
think-
Pumpkins reference?
no. I think the best way to like illustrate how what I dislike about the lyricism on this album is the chorus of drugs, girls, money, and
Are
liquor.
you fucking serious?
What are you talking about?
What's your problem with that?
He rhymes liquor with nickel, which doesn't
So?
it doesn't work. It sounds awful. And then like
Jack, things don't have to rhyme completely.
The lyricism.
That's the most like
no,
layman's argument against. Like,
it's not. It's not it. That's not the only argument. Let me continue. It's not just that he says that. It sounds awful. But then it's also like the actual like logic of it as like a sentence is like, oh, money is making me think about money, and it's like, what are you doing? Like, ugh.
I don't.
Jack,
like,
it's rap. It's not sentences.
Well, and another thing too is you're not like I don't think that if you're gonna analyze lyrics, you either have to like, especially coming from you, who I know doesn't believe in lyrics and music in the first place. But what I mean is like if you're gonna analyze the lyrics like that, you can't just be like nickel and liquor doesn't rhyme and that doesn't make sense. It's or minding my dimes and nickels in reference to money doesn't make sense. You have to at least give it the time of day to be like, oh, minding my dimes and nickels is him saying like this is the shit that's got me like.
Yeah, I understand the point
about
of
life,
his sentence.
so I'm concerned
and, like,
about money.
I understand like what he is trying to say. I do not think it's like as the hook to the song. I don't think it's catchy.
What about the line where he said that you should go to the dollar menu at McDonald's, but no girls is on their knees for fries
and double cheese. I mean,
geez,
at least my right hand will fuck me for free.
Like, what about that part?
That's a good one.
I'm just saying in general.
Okay, so
from Wells like the girl.
Okay,
from
so
the
my
Ring.
preferences with rap, generally beats are top.
Beats your top. What's the earliest rap music that you like?
I like Beastie Boys a lot.
You like, okay, so what's your like? Okay, Beastie Boys is like.
So I have no problem with white rappers. I have no problem with
the exception to the rule in terms of like old rap that has beats.
I would have to agree. Yeah.
Like, there's no like rap from anywhere before. Probably, I would say this decade is definitely not predicated.
Oh yeah,
on, like,
I understand that.
Beat,
but let me continue. There are. It's not. It doesn't have to be like. I do prefer like it to be beats, but like I can understand that not everything is based on the beats, and I wouldn't even say the beats on this album are actually that bad. I do think that some of them are really bad. In particular, Drugs, Girls, Money, and Liquor, which is just like, why would you do?
How is the best song on the album your least favorite song?
I'm not sure I'd even say it's my least favorite. It's just such a good example of everything I dislike about the song, about the album. But like I really do not like the use of the "Say It So" sample, especially when there's no like nothing interesting done with it. Like the thing is like you didn't have to do really, even if you're trying to do simplistic beats for a lyrically focused rap album, you don't have to have it where it's just a whole like a sample that just repeats over and over again, and it's like completely obvious what it's from, and it's nothing like really transformative done with it. You know,
It's only obvious to
It's-
you, you nerd.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what Say It Ain't So is, so like, I don't.
Literally a nerd.
I literally, you're literally a nerd. Like things like this don't affect me. Like, I don't know. It just sounds nice. Like,
and like there's
it's a good bass line for the beat.
There's one song later in the album that I think that has a really good beat that has an obvious sample that does something okay with it, and it's the one that's I think it's just an MC2, which samples the Led Zeppelin thing, and like I feel like the way that that's integrated into the beat is actually really good especially in comparison to the like the Weezer sample.
I would have to disagree with you. There's a couple. I think there's two parts where he, like, if you know Say It Ain't So, he cuts it off to your more like, wow, all right, that shifted me. That's clever. I like that. I think you were just hyper salty.
But one or two like little cuts in a 4-minute song where like up until like the last 30 seconds where he does like a beat shift,
he does
it's
it
just
before
the
that.
riff. I know that there's like a couple of little changes, but they're not. It's not like
It's not the changes too. It's the things that he bounces off of it that make it weird. Like it makes it different. Like it. For me, it's the opposite reaction where it's like, oh my god, you actually stole Say It Ain't So. You're an animal. Like
It's not. He didn't like just put the Say It Ain't So riff and just put nothing on top of it.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
there's-
I know it's
there's
not
production
just
on
that.
top of it. He's not just rewriting the
he
song.
really tried to rebound off of it and see what he could do to like mix it up in like in a rap sense, and I thought it was very clever.
But that brings me to another point I dislike about the production is that a lot of the things that he does on top of the bass beats to build on them are things that I find very bad. For example, at the end of Goddamn, I believe like this chiptune riff thing comes in over it, and it just sounds bad. And there's another song.
Oh, fuck with the chip tune.
There's another song somewhere. I don't remember what song it is, but like, he's just, he's doing his normal flow, which I think his flow is repetitive, but we'll get to that. He's doing this, and then he changes up, which is a good thing. You should change it up sometimes. And he actually changed it to kind of like a melodic rap for a while, where he has like, or it's
Is the part where he raps religiously like Pastor Troy, and he's flying like
that one.
asteroids?
It's
Yeah,
that
that's
one.
the end of
And
John Madden.
it's a clever line too, and which makes me annoyed because it doesn't
Or not John
work
Madden.
over the
It's
beat.
Gobble a Dang.
Gobble Dank, yeah.
It doesn't work over the beat it's on, that melody, and that's just so that bothered me. And so there's some other little things that are like that where it's like the things he chooses to add to the beat take away from it. And then,
Was there any in this mental struggle you're having with the album? Was there any point where you thought for a second, and I'm not saying this is the case because I don't think it is personally, but was there ever a point where you're like, if everything seems this in your mind like amateur and like thrown together and shit, maybe that was like the aesthetic? It's like when you listen to like
Or
a
maybe
lo-fi.
that's his first album.
No,
Like when you listen to lo-fi music, you're not like, man, dude, the amp sounds terrible, dude. You can hear the fucking
no, but the
sound.
thing is,
check.
I'm
It's
not
like, well, that's
complaining
kind of
about
cool.
like sound quality or like
If
it
you're-
being amateurish or anything. I'm
You're claiming
complaining
it
about
sounds
things that I think
bad.
just sound
That-
bad, and like
that could be
let's-
caused by a lack of experience, or you have to intentionally be making them bad. I would say
Well,
things
I
that,
don't
things that are bad in your mind are
I do not
accident.
think that any of the things that I'm talking about that are bad are him thinking, man, it would sure sound cool if it sounded bad.
I'm
here."
not saying they are either. What I'm saying is, you instead
That's
of
not what I
taking-
think either.
instead of taking a second to think at any point like, oh, maybe if it's something that's so throughout the album, maybe it's intentional. It's like, no, he's bad. I think it's kind of a pretty big.
Well, I mean,
race to
even if
jump
it
through.
was intentional, I would think these things are bad. That's the thing. Whether or not his intent is for it to be like that, whether or not he was thinking about it that way, I think it sounds bad to me. That's all
What about
that
the album? What about the album cover?
matters.
Is the album cover
the album
also
cover
stupid?
is fine. It's fine. It's not
I actually don't like the album. I don't like the album cover very much.
I don't
personally.
particularly like it, but I don't
I don't
particularly
like.
like it. But
I don't like
it's
the over. I don't like the red tint on everything.
I like it.
He's
I
about to
think it would've
kill
been-
that fucking.
It might look better without the red tint.
I think it would
but
look better if he wasn't red tinted and everything else was still red tinted. Personally,
Yeah.
but
There's a lot more creative. It could be better, but I'm using that. Not as much as y'all weirdos, but
the last thing about the album that I really did not like is the way his vocals are. Okay, actually, there's more things I don't like, but one of the other things I don't like is the way the vocals are produced. They, most of the tracks he has like this like double tracking that I think doesn't sound that good, and I think is overused.
I'll agree to that. I do think I don't believe a lot of that was in the original version. I think he put that in the remaster, but I'm not sure why, because sometimes it does sound like a little weird, but
Yeah, I think that's an overbearing production choice, and that might be like an amateurish thing. That might be a thing where it's him not having that experience, but like
Or might be the
that's
producers, like. Style,
or yeah, maybe it's
or,
whoever,
like, their
or yeah,
preference.
maybe
yeah,
whoever.
don't forget
remastered
that.
it
Don't
did
forget that especially Maine is like the mecca for rap. So he really had to.
I want to make it clear that like either him or just his friends made all the beats on the album.
Yeah, he definitely.
Yeah,
Like-
there's nothing wrong with doing it yourself. It's just that
There's
it is
something wrong with
possible
doing
to
it
sound
yourself
good
if
while
Jack
doing it
doesn't like it.
It is possible to sound good while doing it yourself, and I just don't think most of this sounds good. Another thing, like what he like talks about is very like lacking in meaning and lacking in is very
What are you
repetitive
talking
in the
about?
subject matter.
I would
what I
agree
mean by-
slightly with that.
What I mean by that is that like if you like think about like the lyrically deep hip hop albums everyone loves, it's like they think about things that are
What
like
albums are those, Jack?
things
Yeah.
like Nas's Illmatic.
Okay,
or
but like none of us
Kendrick's
have
the-
listened to that.
What
Nas's
I
Illmatic
agree.
only it reaches out to a large majority, and it would not be anywhere near as deep and meaningful to us as this is not deep and meaningful to you.
what I agree with Jack on the level
Because
that
I've listened to Nas's Illmatic.
if you made what I agree with Jack on the terms that if you made a spread of what he talks about lyrically on the album, I think every song
Oh yeah, it's not very
checks.
many.
Yeah, it's not.
Every song's about
There's
him
not a
being
point where he's like, let me talk about the situation in America and let's get political for a track, which is why
I mean,
I don't
and
like.
I'm not saying he has to
does
do
that, and that's that. But okay.
Well, what I mean is I don't like the song Goddamn for the fact that it's so just like here's me, clowning.
Oh
running
yeah,
around on my
Goddamn
feet
is the
doing
worst
crazy
example of
shit.
it. Yeah.
And then just Goddamn's like, let me tell you about when I went to prison, or when I was on trial and all this shit. And I'm like, I feel for him in a way, and it's like, okay, I understand he's got some shit, but I also would have, I think, liked it better if, like, he didn't have a song that was so like taking himself seriously.
And
with
the
that,
thing to me is that like Goddamn is easily the worst example of because this entire song that's kind of dedicated to being serious about like I have problems with the drugs and the police but it's like it's not like that. It's not like his story is that interesting, and it's not. And the fact that he feels like he can put like that is deserving of this weight, where it's gonna be like the serious song of the album. It's like, why? And then like there are other lines on the album where he like is saying similar stuff, and most of his like everything that you could say that he says that is relatively serious at all is him basically saying, hey, I want to rap, but I do drugs and the police don't like me. And it's like, okay, I get it. So I'm not saying he has to like make some deep political messages about like fuck capitalism or something, but you could say there is you can say things while being clever. Like there are a bunch of like the Beastie Boys have a ton of songs that have tons of clever lyricism that still make points about things.
are you just an apologist for rap music that came out before the year 2000?
Most of the rap music I listen to
Vince
came out
Vince
well after the
Staples
year
was right, dude. That shit's whack. Why did we
Yeah,
ever
like
listen to
I
any of
don't
that
like
shit?
no. Not everyone has to make a point. Like
I'm
some
not saying you
people
have
can
to.
just talk.
I'm not saying you have to make a point. I'm just saying it's you can talk about more things than just doing drugs and
He's a normal person. He talks about like his life experience.
I think that song in particular is like a welcome break to the party songs like Fuck It. Like it breaks it up, so it's like, okay, I'm not
It wasn't
just
that
listening
welcome for me
to
personally.
I'm not listening to Friday night party songs for an hour. I think
Like,
it's I really like it where it's at, and I think
well,
it's a good
if you think
song.
about it, like for an example that Cruz will get on Wax's Continue, right? Like one of my least favorite songs on the album, like when you listen to it as the album, is We Can't All Be Heroes, because it's like, oh, like it's really just like, I don't know, the flow of the album just doesn't feel right because it's like just in the middle of there, It's weird. That's the kind of experience I have with this one. I don't know. It just
That's
doesn't.
just something I enjoy. I think that taking a break from it's too
I like
loud.
asking
Everybody, it's getting too loud. Or fuck it. Like,
I like the albums that are. I like when an album keeps. I don't like when an album like has multiple different kinds of songs on it, because then it's like, why am I like, why is this on the same album then? I don't know. That's just me.
I don't mind songs like that break up the flow a bit, or like with
I do.
and I mean, actually we'll get to that with a later album in this podcast, but I just don't. I feel like that song is just not good enough to be that break, if you're going to change things up from the formula that works for you, which even if I don't like this album, obviously this album works for some people, like you guys. So like, if you're gonna break it up from the formula, you got to do something that's worthwhile, that's worth breaking up the formula, and I don't feel like Goddamn is that.
I thought that shit was worthwhile.
hell yeah.
I still love the rest of the album. That's just definitely my bottom list of songs off the album. Probably my bottom song. Just wasn't a fan. I also know that Jack's much more of a. One of the albums we talked about in a previous show was that Hot Flash Heatwave album, where like one of the reasons that some of us liked it so much was like, oh, it doesn't do anything special, but it doesn't need to because it's so just like solid on its own that it doesn't need to reach out. And I feel like there's a point where you're always looking for something to like grab you and wow you. You don't like shit that's just solid. You want shit that's
That is
revolutionary.
kind of true. I mean, I didn't actively dislike the Hot Flash Heatwave album. I just thought it was unremarkable.
Yeah, but for you, unremarkable equals like 5-6, where sometimes it's like unremarkable means like, oh, it's so solid because it doesn't try to do anything different than what it's supposed to. Like that's an 8.
I get what you're trying to say, but I don't think that Spose is solid on the level that Hot Flash Heatwave was, as far as what they're trying to do.
What if
And,
Spose threw a dubstep drop in?
That's
honestly,
it. That's
honestly,
what needs to happen.
for the meme value, I would enjoy that. But yeah, like,
If that's all it takes, maybe you don't hate it that much.
I do think that perhaps I was being a bit harsh on it, because I kind of, in my head, as I was listening to it, I was like, why? I didn't like this album very much. That's
Hating the
pretty
first 3
obvious, but
songs makes you hate the rest of them before you even hear them.
That is just how it be.
maybe
Well,
I hear.
I mean that's just how it works,
Maybe I
You gotta
hear
avoid
it
that.
talking about John Madden, and I'm like, oh,
John
sports.
Madden,
I'm triggered. I'm
John
triggered.
Madden.
Not the sports.
John,
Not
Tony
the
Hawk.
sports.
Tony Hawk.
Tony Hawk.
Tony Hawk.
Tony Hawk.
Say no money, no
money, no. John.
Maybe if you had less friends in middle school, this would have been a better album for you. But
Oh, if you
Mr.
had
Poppy
cool
and-
friends in middle school, would be a better.
Yeah, if you had
album
cool
for
friends in middle school like me,
Literally
But
the
Mr.
homies.
Popular.
Yeah, Maryland is so lame compared to Bluffton, South Carolina.
I know Jack kissed so many girls in middle school.
Oh
and
yeah.
it's because he wasn't listening to Spose, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. How many girls did we kiss in middle school?
Collectively,
several.
I think I
Collectively.
think I can put in one. I'm pretty sure.
I collectively won.
I can put in 0.
Oh, did you put
Yeah,
in
I
one,
can-
Cameron? Is that 2? Is that 2 total?
No, 0.
Oh shit.
Wait, yeah, not 0.
Jack, how many girls you kissed in middle school?
0.
All right, so we got one
This
collectively.
is the perfect opportunity for you to say 2, but you don't know them. They went to another school.
Oh,
Oh,
because he
you're
went
so
to
right.
Maryland.
You're so right.
All right, Jack, are you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
All
Are
right,
you
so
dumb?
so we didn't go over my opinion because mine is the most important because.
Yeah, we're saving the best for
Yeah,
last.
We
but-
already know you did. We already know you hated
So
it. dude.
as Cameron previously stated, this is the kind of rap music I fuck with. At first, you know, I'm in the middle of classes. I'm like, God damn, I don't want to listen to rap music.
Goddamn.
But as soon as you get out of class, you turn on the Bluetooth connector, you roll down the windows, you put that shit to 16, and it just all makes sense. It all makes sense. You're leaving school, and you're like, John Madden, John Madden. And you're like, God damn, I miss those days, you know what I'm saying? God, ooh, just the flow. My favorite, you know, I said wordplay. Wordplay kills it. Flow kills it. I don't give a
Best
shit
line-
what I
what's
don't
the
even
best
know any of the beats besides the when I get hit with the classic rock beats, I'm like, you're ridiculous. Why is this here? I'm like, holy shit. I know exactly what song this is from. I'm in it. Like I really dig what's going on. And those are the ones I actually remember. The other beats I clock out for Spose to kill it on the mic. No, he's the real MC too. Just an MC. It's artists similar to this that I really have a mental sex with is my boy Wax. As
Big
stated,
Wax. Not Dr. Phil.
Milo is, I'm pretty sure, a tier above this. Usually,
Milo's a little-
Milo only reads dictionaries every day, so you
Yeah.
can't compete with the guy from
He's like Aesop Rock.
from wherever
Can't
Spose
compete
is
with
from.
Mr. Wells, man.
But you know, he throws the skits in there. I love hearing real
The
time
skits are
like
so
stuff.
good.
And first of all, when I was driving, I almost got hit like to where like they could have broken my arm or like killed me, and I was like, God damn, this fucking sucks. And I thought they were talking about Dumbledore, and I was like, man, that was so tragic. And then I listened to it a second time, like they're talking about fucking. I mean Gandalf, not Dumbledore.
Oh, you thought?
I thought they were talking about Gandalf. I was like, why the hell are they reading The Lord of the Rings in 2007? Aren't the movies out?
they're talking about
They're
Harry
talking
Potter.
about fucking Harry Potter. I was like, man, this song is lost quality for me.
J.K. Rowling smokes.
Yeah,
up
I heard
MCU.
J.K. Rowling. I was like, that's so fucking lame, dude. Why would
The
they
skits
read
were pretty
that
good. I'll give
shit?
them that.
No, it's so.
TJ
I just
fucking
love the
quit?
talking about.
TJ quit? Where the fuck did that come from?
I feel like the skits is perfectly like they just put you in Wells Maine with Spose.
Literally.
You're there just
I
living the
feel
man's
the
life.
studio he's in. Where's he at? He's
I don't-
in
Wells, man.
no. He's like, I'm gonna be here for 7.
Oh yeah, he's in Portland.
He's in Portland. I feel like
Recording
I'm in that
some
studio
jams.
in Portland until he's there at 7. Or I know exactly how it feels where he's like, man, I got work at 4. Let's party hard. Fucking
He's
friends
like,
ends.
I
I'm
think
like,
the time-
God damn, that's the kind of
think the
day that
time
they're
has come.
living. That's some shit that I'm down with. Dude, this whole album fucking kills it. I need to listen to it a couple more times. Definitely the top 5 rap albums I listen to. I've personally
Best
have
song.
tried to go into like the classic rap, like
It's
Snoop,
not good.
Biggie,
It's all whack.
Tupac, all that kind of stuff. To try to appreciate something.
Tupac's
But
hiding the
I'm
Reggie
literally a
Vegas.
millennial, and Tupac has some killer songs. The only Biggie song that's good is the
Frodo
Thomas the
Zoomer.
Train track
Oh,
behind
hell
it.
yeah.
That track kills it. I can listen to that on
That shit
repeat for
slaps.
eternity. Literally the best thing ever. But this is the kind of rap I fucking get down with. This whole album is so fucking good. And at the end of the week, after I listened to it a couple times, outro. I started with outro. I love how it's slow. It's melancholy. He's talking about how he lives at his mom's and he's fucking girls at his mom's, but it just started how he was jerking it. You know, everybody starts off small and then you really make it, but then it's still melancholy. How I'm like, God.
See, because the thing
I'm
is,
still
like, if
fucking
you have
girls
a
at my mom's, like
if you
I'm
have
still
a
not
big
that far.
IQ, like he makes points about life. It's just not direct. Like he's not just saying like, "Oh, there's corruption in the system." He's just talking about his life, and like if you really just think about it, like
I feel like I know Spose. I
Like,
feel like I know that
he's
guy
saying
and how
shit, you know?
like how he lives. Like it's just so good. He portrays himself so well. And then you got your Friday night party songs, like Preposterly Dank, Fuck It, Drug Girls,
Thank
Money
God,
and
right.
Liquor, like Gobble a Dank. They're all great. They're all great Friday night.
I don't know
party
if I was
songs.
called Drugs, Old Money and like really a party song, but I appreciate the enthusiasm.
Now you can blast that shit.
Hell yeah.
I think just because you can blast it doesn't mean it's a party song.
It depends on the
I would
party,
have to
dog.
disagree.
You could
If you're
blast
at
all
a
kinds of
cool
shit.
party, you can blast anything, and
Yeah,
it's a party song.
You could blast Russia under the Mongolian yoke, but I don't think that makes that a party song.
What the fuck is that?
Don't
Hey,
worry
I'll
about
show
it.
you after. I'll show you
Oh,
after.
I got it.
This is what it is. This is a rap album for people who don't. There's people who pretend they like hip. There's people who pretend they like hip hop because they listen to Tupac and Biggie, and it's like if you don't listen to Tupac and Biggie, you're not
a
actually
real
into
hip-hop
rap.
fan.
Yeah, you don't like
fan.
rap and hip hop, and then they'd be like, "Damn, this shit came out in 2018. That's not real rap and hip hop." It's like you weren't even fucking alive. Dude, get a life. Like, go get a fucking. I don't know. Go to fucking Target. I don't know, dude.
Go to Target.
The
Like,
only
shout
thing I
out to
can
Russ.
You
complain-
remember when you would just hang out at Target?
I remember when you would just walk home with me.
Hell yeah.
Like, this is the shit we would play. Like when we would cut through the fucking like elementary school like parking lot. Like this is the kind of shit that came out. Like,
Yeah,
let me
this
show
is-
you
this is
this.
just
Let me
what
show you
you
this new shit I
blast.
got. And then Connor comes over. He's like, "What the fuck? What are you guys listening to?"
Oh, Connor.
Oh man.
Shout out Connor.
I miss
Whatever
that
the fuck
kid.
Connor's out right
Do
now.
you?
Whatever beats you're hanging on, dude. Shout out Connor.
I mean, I don't, but like,
Connor-
I don't know.
Connor-
I miss that time.
You missed the
Connor-
time that Connor was in your life.
I'll say one
Yeah,
thing.
I
dude.
don't miss the time where he threw Danimals at me and I had to go to the fucking bathroom. I almost cried.
I'll say one thing.
Wait,
dude.
was that like in
Connor?
elementary
school. Middle school.
In 7th grade, like we were fucking around, like we were flaming each other, and like he threw Danimals like on my white T-shirt, so I just had a bunch of fucking pink on my shirt.
Me and
And
Cameron.
then I had
bro.
to go into the bathroom, and I would hear, and I was like chilling in the bathroom for like 30 minutes trying to clean my shirt. And I heard two people talking in the bathroom, being like, "Yo, what's that guy in there doing?" And he was like, "Oh, I think he just on his shirt, or someone just on his shirt, or some shit." And like I almost fucking cried because I couldn't take that shit.
But by
And then I still
eighth,
had to sit in fucking like timeout or whatever at the lunch when I got back. That shit was so stupid.
by 8th or 9th grade, when me and Cameron were walking home, the dude Connor was doing a lot for the culture.
Yeah,
I'll say one thing.
he got better over time.
Yeah, he did nothing if not something for the culture. So shout out that guy. Prosperously Dank, good album.
What
Listen
a
to it if
fucking
you don't
good
pretend to like
album.
rap.
Holy shit! I
We
don't.
got 3
Are
more.
anything is anything he's ever done close to this? Because like I think I'm Awesome is like meme tier, but I wouldn't
Right.
want to like sit and listen to it today. Like I want to keep that shit in the past. Also, We Hate Money is a banger.
Oh, We Hate Money is such a fucking good
That-
song,
that
but
song
it's
kills
not
it, too.
on. It's not on any album. But okay, so the thing about his albums are all kind of different. This is the
It's like
only
death
one that.
grips.
Yeah, this is the only. There, it's very much like Death Grips, except just all in white man rap.
Fuck Anthony
So-
Fantano.
Preposterously Dank is the only one that sounds like Preposterously Dank, but like you still might enjoy Happy Medium and like The Audacity. Probably The Audacity is more like Wax, from what I understand of Wax. Like, I'm not sure how to explain his other albums, but you should still like his other shit. Just know before you go into it that they all sound different from one another, which is a good thing. I think, because like I don't know, it's very diverse styles. It might even means that Jack might like one of them, but who knows?
Whatever has the
He-
most
he
electronically
certainly
produced
does
music.
diversify the flow as
Yeah.
things go on.
He'll like the one that Justice did the production on.
Yeah. Whatever. Whatever Daft Punk influenced.
Yeah.
Also,
There's one-
if you really hated him rapping over classic rock beats, you'll be happy to know that he has an album that isn't on Spotify, but it's of him rapping over all Outkast beats. That album slaps.
That's so fucking good, actually.
But you gotta go find it on your own.
Well, turn up the Outcast.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a proprietor of like, oh my god, I can't listen to African American rappers. I only have to listen to white rappers because it's only because I have this deep seated hatred for Watsky.
Whoa. Okay. Jesus. We really thought we were about to have to
Different.
close this shit down, Cruz.
Suppose has a song with Watsy, but
Yeah,
continue your
shout out
point.
Watsky, dude. Shout out the
Every
album
time I hear a
Cardboard
Watsky
Castle.
song, it just hurts to
It
listen
just
to.
makes you cringe.
Yeah, it
I
makes
understand
me
that. I don't
cringe.
like Watsky's voice or face.
Yeah, but his
It
voice,
makes you cringe.
face, rhythm, rhyme,
Wat-
whatever he
Watsky had a
does.
really,
Just,
Watsky had one really, really good album. 2013 Cardboard
I
Castles.
probably
Shout
didn't
out.
hear it, that's why.
Watsky.
That was on the RuneScape playlist.
Like even RuneScape.
Anyway. Preposterously dank. Listen to it if you like rap music. We got 3 more.
Yeah. Don't listen
Three
to
more
it
to
if you're
kill it.
Jack. Yeah, we got 3 more.
Who wants to go next? I'll go next.
Yeah, you
Alright.
go next.
My album this week was Language by progressive metal band The Contortionist. Discovered this album via Discover Weekly. I don't listen to a ton of metal. Like, but if I do, it's generally like in the Dream Theater camp, like prog metal and prog metal adjacent with the odd
Like Coheed and
Like-
Cambria.
like well I don't know if I call that metal, but like and then mostly Dream Theater stuff like this, and I occasionally venture out into like Black Dahlia Murder, like just normal death metal type stuff. So I'm not like a super knowledgeable metalhead. I'm not one of those people who's like, if you don't listen to this specific kind of metal, you're a fucking poser version. I think if I went to a Contortionist concert, I'd be moshing. I'm not usually a mosh kind of guy. I like to go to listen to my music and just not get squished. But I think some of the songs on this album could get me in the fucking pit. Could get me fucking going wild. I like the vibes. My favorite part about this album, I think, is the vocals. Because from what I can understand, it's just one guy. So the one guy does the clean vocals and also does the screams / growls portions, which I think they play off of each other a lot. Where it's not like, I think almost every song, if not every song, has a part that's like clean, more melodic, and then a part that's the growl when they have the breakdown and the drop, air quotes, which is something I really admire. And the lyrical content is too abstract for me to understand, which is a plus when I listen to music like this. And would love to hear what you guys thought about The Contortionist Language 2014. Oh, fair enough.
I guess I'll start. I think.
Alright, Cruz will start.
Personally, I've been thinking lately that I'm waiting for the one metal album to spill me back into the glory days of me listening to Slayer and Metallica and Megadeth only every day, all day. And
Well, this isn't your dad's metal.
This is not the dad's metal that I'm looking to spill me back into the metal scene.
This is not thrash adjacent.
No, well, it's like I fuck with some death metal. I especially fuck with neo death metal or neo black metal, whatever's new. I like to listen to new music. New music is my favorite genre. But all jokes aside, I do like listening to newer music to try to like, know what's happening in the world now in the world of music. And if they they stop by Atlanta, they stop by Columbia or Athens, like we can go see what's going on right now. Like Led Zeppelin ain't touring anymore. You can't see that band. Like you can only see what's happening now, or you're gonna pay hundreds of dollars to see Slayer.
Your eyes don't go in the past.
Yeah, that's really just unfortunate. I would love to see Sid Barrett not destroyed, but
Well, I don't think anybody saw that.
rest in peace. But I think the intro is great. The source, I think that's pretty good. I think the standout tracks probably be Ebb and Flow. I really didn't think much about the album. I thought it was fine, like a 5 or a 6. Like it didn't do anything out of the ordinary. But if it is true that is the one guy killing it on all 3 types of vocals, that's pretty impressive. Because once you like do the growling, like your voice kind of hurts and like.
There's only one person with any vocal credits on the album that I can find. So shout out Michael Lessard.
Do they perform? Does he have to like,
I don't know. I should have looked up a video of them performing my favorite song live just to see, but alas, I didn't think that through.
I think it was all right. I didn't have really any problems with it. I just didn't think it was anything I'd go back to.
One of their other albums was
the death growling really threw me for a loop after the source. I was like,
oh yeah.
God damn, we're
I think that's
we're really
my favorite
getting in
part
it.
though. I like the parts where it's like we're gonna contrast like the really melodic like softer bits with just some growls, and then like they do the breakdown that makes my headphones like wiggle a little bit. I don't know. It's
The
fucking
modern
weird.
metal breakdown.
Yeah, I like it where it goes from like 150 BPM to like 30. I like
the crab
Yeah.
stance.
When they slow it down, like you're looking at the stage waiting for them to hit the next note, and then you can mosh again.
This
It's good.
is just like just this classic example of what modern metal is and what fucking Matt listens to. Like, I'm like, damn.
This is I like this more than any of the metal albums Matt picked back in the day, besides Megadeth.
Damn.
I think the thing is that my thing with metal music is that I like a very specific type of metal music that like nobody makes because it's just like I like very specific songs and what they do from specific artists. That if I could put them all together, that'd be like my ideal thing. And I think that stuff like Megadeth and old thrash and just older like metal from the 80s and 90s just
thrash.
or just like
There
even like
new
stuff like
thrash.
no, or
Can you
even like
point me in
stuff
the direction of new
there,
thrash?
there is new
Power
thrash
Trip?
that I have listened
Yeah,
to.
make no
Yeah.
mistake.
Warbringer and shit, but what like I just
Give me
I
a
don't
fucking
like-
list, dude. Give me back.
I
in.
don't like what some of those do. I like the more progressive edged. Like pretty much if Dream Theater was like 61% more heavy, I think that would be ideal, which is why I think that I like some of the stuff they do on this album.
You should tell Phil Collins he'll get back in it.
Yeah, Phil Collins is yeah.
What?
Yeah, you're thinking of fucking Slash.
Oh yeah. I'm Buckethead, right?
Yeah, fucking shut up, Buckethead. I wish I had more to say, like in response to what you said.
I
Cruz,
wish I
but
had more to say about the album. Honestly,
I'm
It's
kind
just
of on
like-
the same page. I'm kind of on the same page that you are, but I'm on like the 7 to 8 instead of the 5 to 6 for almost the same. Like
I would
nothing
say
offends.
6.5 solid.
Nothing
like, they're
offends me
not
about
moving
this
from
album.
that.
Like nothing offends me about this album, and there wasn't a point where I was like, "Man, that's an annoying metal thing they did," which is like few and far between for stuff that I listen to a lot of the music. Try to listen to a lot of shit that Dylan listens to. Not a huge
He
fan
only
of a lot
listens
of
to 3 things, so
Songs
it's
to
alright.
avoid.
yeah, I don't like K-pop, and I don't like death metal as much as he does. So
Well, he listens to like the surface level death metal, not the death metal you can't read what they're about, not the
what the
real
band
metal,
name is.
like
Yeah.
Master of the Fermenting Dregs.
Hell yeah.
One thing that I should know is I think that their album Clairvoyant, I believe, was Kerrang! Magazine's album of the year or something. It was some sort of like metal thing put that as their album of the year, which I thought was interesting because they only have like 100,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, and that's not a lot.
That's pretty
So
good.
shout out them.
So offer
Well, I mean,
a random metal band.
There's only like 100,000 people who
Yeah.
like metal music.
Yeah,
Am I right?
metal
Gamers?
is literally an indie genre now. In the time that we are living in of 2019,
Yeah.
metal this metal is like indie is like the shitty music I listen to. Like
Yeah, it's like Mac to
The
Market.
shit
If not
music
bigger.
you listen to is like more popular actually.
yeah, so like
Niggas know who Mac DeMarco is.
like metal has become a niche genre, and that's I'm really waiting for when metal gets back on the radio, but it might not be in this lifetime.
On modern rock. Well, Weezer will have something to say. They're the gatekeepers to modern rock. music.
Whatever what they've been putting out on the Black Album has literally been garbage, so it's not going to
Is
be
that
radio
metal?
play.
You didn't like the Africa cover? I thought it was okay.
That's not on the Black Album. But
Sure
also
it
it's not their song, so
Fair enough.
but yeah, that's
Okay. So I guess I should give my thoughts.
Yeah.
So I'll say before I say anything else that this was essentially one long song to me, so I can't tell you anything about any of the songs. But this could have been so good. It was so close to being like absolutely bonkers. I have it at a 3, but it would have been a 4 with one small change. Well, small-ish change. And it could have, like, probably even been a 5, given certain, I don't know, things that they may have done differently that
Three
I
is
can't
still
even
pretty.
describe.
3 is still
Because
insane.
3
for
is still
me.
incredibly high for Mr.
Yeah,
Alexander.
for my albums, Jesus Christ, a 3.
So the thing stopping it from being a 4, and this is literally the only thing stopping it from just being a 4, was the growling.
Oh, fair enough.
I I did not like the juxtaposition in this.
But you like the clean vocals?
I liked the clean vocals. I liked everything else about the entire album. I just couldn't do the growling. I don't know. Maybe if I listened to it like more, I could, I don't know, cope with it. But for now, it's just unfortunate. Like so, like I just want to find this without the growling, and like it's like a whole new genre of just shit that just sounds perfect. Because everything else, honestly, just sounds amazing.
There's a lot of stuff that's adjacent to this that probably wouldn't have. Like there's,
Yeah.
it's like if you either it's like you go in one direction and it's all growling, and you go in the other direction and it's no growling. But like the music itself is about the same.
Yeah, because I know that like there's a lot of music like this, and I'm sure there is just without growling. I just need to find
bands
it.
that immediately jump to mind is like maybe Cynic, or like just anything that's like in the modern, like last 10 years of prog metal camp.
I got a recommendation based on that, which is the album Molina by Leprous, which is a band that we saw in concert. Apparently their older stuff does have like harsh vocals on the albums, but the new album, which is the one that they played mostly at the show, like
I think I could deal with like more higher pitched screaming, but just the actual.
If it was screaming, like the screamo air quotes type thing, I'm with you there too a little bit.
But like just the exact death growling that this man does, like I'm not
out of nothing other than sheer shock that this wasn't a 1 from you. If I find anything in the future that is similar to this, but in the directions you described, I will make sure that I hit you with it.
All right, thank you.
Just so that, if for nothing else, too, you will be forever in my debt for recommending you some music, because I think you're the only person I haven't put onto some shit that fundamentally changed them to some degree.
I mean, you technically put me onto Street Sex.
Yeah, but I don't think that.
And you technically put me onto
Major Organ.
Major Organ, which are 2 very important albums.
That's not even technically. That's just straight up. I put you on both of those clips. Not for the right reasons.
Yeah, just not for the right reasons.
I didn't give you your Neutral Milk Hotel yet. Or your fucking.
It wasn't just Neutral Milk Hotel. It was a long drive with no one to think about, and Neutral Milk Hotel on repeat. It's just over.
Without Neutral Milk Hotel, you wouldn't have got there.
Without Neutral Milk Hotel, we wouldn't have Mac DeMarco. I'm just saying. And that's probably true. That's
100% true.
I'm speaking facts over here.
Ain't a Neutral Milk Hotel just a fridge?
It's just a fridge.
Just a fridge.
Just cooling down the climate.
But shout out to Cameron for giving me my highest album in a while.
Yeah, in a while.
In ever?
Maybe my highest. No, maybe my only one.
A 4 and a 3.
Maybe I was gonna say maybe my only one besides Youth Pictures that's above a 2.
Oh, put that shit on the radio, baby.
Can't do it anymore.
Can't do it.
Youth Pictures is more tennis. If you're out there, please reach out to us and let us know what happened.
Oh, and I can put you on the radio more.
No. Oh, the Bluegrass album got a 3. I forgot, and then
fuck yeah.
Youth Pictures got a 4.
Youth Pictures.
So I need to go get Youth Pictures on SoulSeek actually. But
yeah, I don't even know if it'll be on there. 500 monthly listeners is pretty.
It's dead. No, we've covered it, so it'll be on there. You know what it is?
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't been on SoulSeek in a minute, but.
What did you think, Jack? As resident metalhead and music critic, this podcast busiest music nerd.
I enjoyed it. I didn't. It was hard for me to like. There's a lot going on, you know, between like because like prog metal, especially modern stuff,
There's like 25 people in the band.
Yeah, there's like so much stuff going on. They switch between heavier sections, lighter sections, and like different vocal stylings and like different guitar tones all the time. So it's very hard to like keep track. I really wish I could have taken notes for this, but as usual I was listening at work.
Did you feel much more metal about making biscuits?
About when I was dunking those chicken in the batter dip, I was like, this is a brutal execution. These
Yeah,
Chickens.
these chickens, my fucking bitch.
But yeah, I don't listen to a lot of prog metal, but I've listened to some. I listen to stuff that Matt's forced me to listen to, and I've listened to some stuff on my own. Um, it all tends to kind of blend together to me. I'm not the biggest fan of it. It's not what I would consider like my style of metal. I generally like stuff that's like much more clearly like riff oriented,
Yeah,
you
your
know.
thrashes.
So yeah, like you know your thrash stuff, and then like your like stoner and doom stuff too.
Like Caius.
Yeah, like Caius.
JYS.
Yeah, actually.
Um, but um,
I,
but
I
I did.
also I 100% agree that a lot of prog metal just blends together to me as well. But part of the reason that's not a bad thing for me is just because I like the way it sounds. But I 100% agree that if you put like 5 or 6 different albums together, I might not even be able to tell you who was whose.
Yeah,
Fucking true.
and it's not even like I don't even think it's like impossible like with the stylings of modern prog metal to sound distinct, because like, and maybe this is only because I saw them live, but like when I I can identify like this sound of Leprous as distinct from other prog metal bands pretty well, and so like I'm not sure if it needs to like be like that, you know. I think that there's just uh, as you know, as a musician, because I am a musician, guys.
Mhm.
As someone who plays guitar, I spend some time on like YouTube watching, you know, people who talk about guitars on YouTube, because and generally like that kind of crowd is the kind of crowd that's like also all into the prog metal stuff, and because of that, like I get this feeling that like there's some like trend following that goes on in the scene, where it's like, everyone's like, oh, they're all using like the same guitars and effects that are coming out recently, and it's like, and they're all like working together and bouncing ideas off each other, and it becomes like this thing where like, and I have no idea if this is actually true, this is just me speculating, but like I do feel like
It's too samey to be coincidence.
yeah, I feel like there's it's just like listening to like the album. There are times when like, they'll do some like, lick where it's like, oh, the guitar tone there is like exactly like a very similar lick played in a different album that I've heard, but I can't put my finger on it because it's like they're all so similar, you know.
It's like
And
dubstep. Like all dubstep sounds kind of the same because dubstep is just like it's just that one thing, and that's the genre.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that because like dubstep, like,
Oh
and
my
maybe it's
God,
just because
I
I
forgot I'm
listened.
talking to the electronic music nerd.
Maybe it's because yeah, I was about to say maybe it's because I listened to dubstep a relatively large amount, but like dubstep producers are there are the samey ones who just sound like generic garbage, but like the good ones generally you can identify as different. And as of right now, I could not tell you whether my like my lack of understanding of the contortionist specific sound is because they don't have one, or if it's because I'm just not experienced enough with the genre and with the album itself, you know.
I wish I could flame you and say you were too stupid to get it, but I'm kind of in the same boat.
Which I'm sure I will like
But
just.
I want to believe that if it was just samey and like ripping off and stuff, I want to believe that it would have been more obvious. Like I want to believe that I would have listened to it and been like, damn, like they think they're slick.
I guess
I mean,
that's
it's
kind of right.
2014 as well. Like, I mean, I know this is like there's the scene goes like back a little bit, but a lot of it's like modern. I mean, I bet a lot of these people in the scene know each other and shit too. It's like, oh damn,
Yeah,
it's a cool guitar tone. Must snag that real quick. Play on my album.
but yeah. I'm not. I I will say that it is. I will say that it is probably mostly just me being relatively inexperienced with the genre and not having listened to this album, like necessarily as much or in like as I would like to, or in the conditions I would have liked to. So yeah, I feel like I need more experience with prog metal to really dissect it.
I like the name of the band. Sometimes you can see the name of a band and you know what kind of music they're gonna play. But the Contortionist is on that level where it's like it's either gonna be like heavy or it's gonna be like some indie pop shit. Like One Girl is the Contortionist, you know?
That
I
sounds
kind of see
hot.
that.
That sounds
Yeah,
hot.
bands like you see the name of a band like like Dying Fetus. You're not like damn that's gonna be some hot funk music.
Oh,
Like you
Yeah,
just
yeah.
know, you know.
I
But
Mm-hmm.
you get a band name like I don't know like Hot Dog or something. It's like damn what kind of music does Hot Dog play? Like it could be anywhere. I don't fucking know what kind of music Hot Dog plays, but it could be anywhere,
They
dude.
play They Might Be Giants covers.
Yeah,
Hot dog,
probably.
hot diggity dog. You know, stuff like that.
Right.
Shout out the Mickey Mouse Club.
Shout out to They Might Be Giants who did the Mickey Mouse Club house theme song.
Does anybody else have any closing remarks about Language the Contortionist 2014?
I will say with regards to like the general like modern prog metal sound, I do like the kind of it feels mathier than old prog metal was. Like I've listened to a bit of Dream Theater, and like Dream Theater does do their fair share of like disgustingly awkward rhythms and like where they just have time signature changes every measure or
Hell
something.
yeah, Constant Motion, dude. Shout out Constant Motion.
But like even when like you have a band like Dream Theater doing that, it doesn't necessarily sound like the way it does in like the modern prog metal stuff. And I think it's because like there's like some like there's like this crossover between the modern prog metal stuff and like the kind of like guitar virtuoso math rock wank shit that's like
Yeah.
really, and I feel like
Well,
that crossover is a lot more prominent now
I
and in this
think
kind of music than it
I
is
mean
in
part
older
of it
prog
too
metal.
could also be that I like the roots of like at least in like where math rock now comes from was like a scene that was only heavy music. From what I understand, like the kind of stuff like I have a playlist called Chill Math, and like that's very much like a more recent thing. Like your Chans and your like other more chill out sort of vibes, math like straight up math rock stuff is much more of like a recent development. Because if I'm getting my music history correctly, like math rock and the whole math thing comes from the math core scene, which was just like
Well, I think it
heavy metal with the math stuff on top of it, which I guess
I don't
which I
necessarily
feel
think
like
it came like that. I
would
think
lend
math.
itself closer. I mean,
I
obviously, it's
think
something like you're like American football and shit. That's like
well, yeah, that's what I was gonna
pioneers in the
say.
scene.
You're the
But
math.
I think that the math scene is like late '80s, early '90s, just like a heavier, at least like in theory. And I feel like math. I feel like American football and bands like that, or like Sharks Keep Moving, or I Minus the Bear, or something, like laid the framework a little bit for what like the chiller side was. But I feel like a lot of the prog metal is like still like close ish to the like more hardcore roots that I think some of the stuff they borrow from math music like is. I think they're still maybe close to that on some level.
I don't necessarily know if I mean, I'm not the most familiar with the origins of the genre, but as far as I know, I think that like the way that the entire like math rock thing started was actually like it was more out of like the post-hardcore punk genre rather than like from the metal side.
I would still call that heavy, especially
I mean,
like
yeah,
I mean
it's
compared to
still
like what it is
relatively
now.
heavy stuff, yeah. But like, I mean, I think it kind of like went into two diverging streams where like you had one like the people going to like the metalcore and mathcore stuff, and then you had the people that were making like the chiller stuff, like your American footballs and like up until the Chons and stuff, and then like, but I feel like
And then you have the Wiggly Boys.
yeah, but I feel like at some point fairly recently, like the the old school prog metal stuff like merged with the metalcore and mathcore, and then also merged with like the YouTube guitar wanky show off video scenes and produced the modern prog metal thing. That's
It could be an internet thing. You could be 100%. I'm not. I don't know. Definitely, there's definitely a lot of crossover somewhere.
yeah,
Everybody that does a fucking guitar and drum tutorials in some prog metal band.
yeah.
Like, and that's not even a fucking. That's barely an exaggeration.
Yeah. Everyone's got their own band. We got 100 monthly listeners on Spotify, guys. Please help us.
Yeah, please listen to our new album. It slapped.
Mommy give me milky.
If anybody else have anything else they wanna add?
Now this could be a 4 in the future. I don't know.
Maybe
That's
they
all I really
maybe they
got.
made a 4, you know.
I could give you the new like 5 if I find something. I'll be on the prowl. I'll keep you in mind.
Word.
Who wants to go next? We got 2 left.
Do you want to go, Cruz, or you want me to go?
Which one's more controversial, do we think?
It's probably Arctic Monkeys, right? No?
Okay.
Yeah, I
Cruz,
feel like mine's probably more controversial. So.
You go, Cruz.
Alright, so The Good Life by my good friends, The Good Life. Everybody's Coming Down by The Good Life is a indie rock album. It's a side project for some shitty band that's not as good as The Good Life. Apparently it's songs that he wrote that are too moody or too him for the band. I don't know. I don't even know the name of the other band because it
Doesn't matter.
doesn't matter because it's probably awful.
They're probably bad. Yeah.
So if they think this is too moody, then they just don't like good music. I'm pretty sure. So
Yeah.
they make
most
bad
likely.
music, and you probably shouldn't listen to it. But I'm not saying that you shouldn't. This is one of my favorite albums of all time. Top 15, not top 10, all the time. This is one of the few albums that I can go back to, and I'm like, yes, this is something I like. Unlike AJJ and other things. Well, I still like that kind of stuff, but I think this stands up to quality over nostalgia. I've listened to this album for 3 years, I think. And after listening to it again, there's some things that I would say that could be changed. Like some of the deader parts, some more like literally just instrumental parts, but because it's a slow album already, that it just slows it down more. But at 36 minutes, I still think it's fine. I still think it still makes my top 15 easy. Just the lyrics and how the guitar always goes off, and some of the bass just pops off in some of the songs to overshadow and the mood he presents, the lyrics that happen. Like, everything about it is perfect, I'm pretty sure. I've tried to listen. I listened to their first album, I think, about a month ago. And I've listened to Help Wanted Nights, and it's just still not as, like, great or cohesive. And the guitar work has gotten better, and the lyrics have gotten better, and the performances are better, and recording's better. So everything has just improved over time. But if you really want, like, the raw shit, like, what's really going down, like, what's really coming down by everybody, you can look at the older stuff. This is one of the things that spiraled me into the Walters, introducing me to that kind of stuff. Just overall great indie rock stuff. I hope I can see them on tour. What are their monthly listeners at? 20 grand. You know, we're killing it out here. Really, really cut and paste, word of mouth kind of people. The Good Life might be overshadowed by the American brand of stick figures on t-shirts, so that really might not be going out for them. The Modern Mary is a great single that everybody should listen to if you enjoyed the album, but Everybody's Coming Down is a banger, and I would love to hear what you think about it.
Shit was good. I actually felt kind of weird about it when I first listened. I was like, I don't know. There was something about it that felt weird when I was first listening to it. And what I think it is like, I don't very much like the second song on the album. I think it's the one where he's singing about singing, or it's the second or third one.
The third track, second song.
Yeah, the Troubadour's Green Room. Definitely, it's the third track.
Yeah.
The first track is 30 seconds, so.
All right, I just noticed that. Yeah, I mean, it's not. That song was probably the least favorite in the album. I don't know why. Something about it was just. But I for the most part, I enjoyed the album, and I was expecting actually something a little more like cruise music, if you know what I mean.
I really
You
don't,
know-
because this is cruise music.
No, I mean this
Really don't.
is, but like
This
there's-
isn't stereotypical cruise music though.
Yeah, there's like elements of this that
there's
aren't
something else to
typical of Cruise music. Like
It's
there's-
too garagey.
There's
be-
yeah, it's a bit garagey, and then there's actually some like mathy elements to it, especially on some like the middle songs where there are like guitarists that aren't just like 4/4, and I found those very cool. So yeah, it's kind of surprising. I like the guy's voice. He sounds like a slightly more put together, slightly more hipstery Julian Casablancas. If you know what I mean, like he has like that tone, but he's like a little like Julian Casablancas always sounds like he's drunk, but like this guy doesn't. Yeah.
So, I guess I'll.
No, that's it. All right.
I mean, I have more to say, but like that's.
Oh
all
no,
I,
if you have more than enough.
I might have something to bounce off of something else, someone else
Alright,
says, you know, like
so
yeah.
before I give my opinion, I have to say that I've heard this song before because I believe Cruz played it for me when he was driving back down from Chicago.
The Chicago.
I believe was my introduction.
Let me look at the 2 Chicago playlists, and then.
Yeah, I think that's the first time I listened to this album.
We listen to a lot of albums.
It was either that or I came upon it myself, and then like you played it, and I was like, oh shit. But I don't know.
It's not in the 2 Chicago playlist, so I probably
Not in there.
but it was in the rotation at that time. Like that, it was Walters.
Yeah.
That was the 2 albums that I bounced off of every day. It's actually in the playlist. I'm retarded.
Oh, okay. Actually retarded. Alright. So yeah, this album, I really like it. And I love like what they do with it. Where fuck, I should have written notes, honestly. So I love that like it starts off and like it's the morning, right? And then at the end it's like
Midnight is
midnight's
upon us.
coming. And then like there's other time signature songs like Happy Hour. That's like the only one, I think. But whatever, that's good enough. And how it does like and the name of the album is Everybody's Coming Down, and it's like a metaphor for everybody dies one day, essentially. Because like in Forever Coming Down, he's talking about like how he's bragging about how he's never gonna die. And then in the last song he's like, holy fuck, I'm gonna die. Like he comes to terms with the fact that he's gonna die almost. But it's just all in the allegory of like almost like this is a day in his life, but it's also his whole life. And shit like that. And what makes me really fuck with this album super heavy, but the actual music itself I don't like as much, but I still do really like it. This album's ranking, it's a 4, and it's probably somewhere in the 40s or 50s of my top 42, but it doesn't make the actual top 42. It's it just barely is slightly off, but after like the greatest part about this album is once you've listened to the whole thing and you're just listening to Midnight is Upon Us, that song is it's beyond perfect. Like even the song on its own is just
It's so good. It's ridiculous.
I can't give it words. Like what he's saying and the actual music, it's actually just I can't give words for how amazing of a song it is. It's just not possible. And of any album I've ever heard in terms of like really good closing songs to the album, this is actually like the top song on that list if I were to actually make that a list. And then just like the rest of the album doesn't hold up quite as well to that, but everything else is still good. Some of the lyrics I feel on other songs are not abstract enough, almost. Like what he's saying is almost like too direct and to the point sometimes of like what he's saying. Like in one song he's just going on about like disenchanted taxpayers or some shit like that. He said, I forget which song it is, but he's just saying a bunch of shit like that. Or he's talking about the song Jack referenced, the Troubadour's Green Room, where he's just singing about singing, which I flip flop between thinking it's corny and thinking it's not corny. That song. But it just kind of depends on my mood when I listen to
That's
it.
one of my favorite songs of all time. I'm pretty sure.
That song?
Yeah, Troubadour's
I understand that. I really like the song when like I'm in the mood for it, I guess.
Yeah, it really.
But
does
sometimes
hit.
it's just like.
Yeah, if
nigga,
I'm,
just
if
shut
I'm
up,
in a
almost.
Spose mood, it really doesn't hit the chord. I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
If you're not trying to get hyped, the Troubadour's Green Room is not getting you there.
Yeah, nah. But yeah, I'm not sure what else to say, so I'll let Jack take it away or some shit.
Or the one who hasn't talked, Alex.
Yo,
I said or some shit, you know.
I had a unique experience with this album, where
Lord.
I would be finished listening to it, and I wouldn't remember anything about it. Like, I would listen to the whole thing. I'd be doing my normal routine when I listen to the albums in this podcast, and I would finish it, and I'd be like, okay, album's over. And then I'm like, okay, what were my favorite songs? You know, what is all this shit? And I was like, man, I forgot everything about it. So I listened to it again, and then I'd be okay, focus this time. What's my favorite shit about the album? What do I like? What do I not like? And then I wouldn't remember anything about the album. The only word I can use to describe this album appropriately to me is just forgettable.
Hypnotic.
And even now, when I listen to it and I go and click on the stuff, a lot of the songs just kind of sound like. I mean, what it was, my experience was that it blended together in a way that I was like, wow, like, okay, these.
It's like a lot of the songs sound different-ish, but they
The
all kind of
vibe-
have the same thing to them.
They all have this weird. I don't know if I'd say weird, but it's like they all have this like such a strangely aggressive like garage rock overtone to them. Like especially with it's just the guitars are so distorted on some of them that I'm like, okay, so that was the song where the guitar was distorted, and then I'm like, oh no, wait, it's not the only one. Like I can't use that as a defining characteristic, and then I try to find something else that I'm like, what's different about this song to the last song, and it just kind of all sounds the same, and I just didn't find it very interesting.
I thought that's what you like in an album.
I like it when I like what it sounds like. When I don't like what it sounds like, and it's if an album is a song I like 10 times, that's good. But if it's a song that I'm indifferent to or don't like 10 times, that's not good. And there wasn't enough in this album. I did something I don't normally do, which was I just put the album on and didn't do anything, which is something I don't normally do when I'm going through this stuff in here because that's usually bad. I haven't done that since Blueface. And I just like, even then when I was doing nothing but listening to it, I got done with it and I was like, man, I don't remember anything about it. I have written here that my favorite song was Ad Nausea, and even now I don't know what Ad Nausea sounds like. I'm listening to it and I remember why I liked it, because I like the chorus and the vocal performance, but I wish I had something more positive to say, but I just felt like this was. Definitely, if you're into it, you're gonna like it because it's gonna be a lot of the same thing. But if you're not into it like I was, it's just gonna be like, wow, we're on this merry-go-round for 36 minutes. And I don't even know if I would necessarily say that I didn't like it. There was nothing about it that I was like, here's a point I can use to talk about it, or here's something I can use to differentiate this from anything else that might sound similar to this.
If you got anything that's similar, I'd love to hear about it, because the indie rock of today, of this time period, is nothing.
I don't even know if I would. I mean, I feel like definitionally maybe if it wasn't on a big label, this is indie rock, but it really doesn't. Like you were talking about, like, oh, what do you mean this isn't like this doesn't sound like when we say cruise music. This is not what. Not even, I mean, for at least me, not even like remotely close to what I think of when I think cruise music.
Yeah, I think
Like,
of like
this is
Hot Wave.
Yeah, this is like way too.
Oh, I didn't even listen to that album when we put it up.
This is like straight up garage rock, which is just weird. I mean, not weird, but it's like it's not cruise music in my mind at least. If this is what you think of when you think cruise music, then we gotta have a dictionary debate about the true definition of it, because this isn't what, at least when I've been using the phrase for the past like 2 years, this isn't what I've been thinking. But I mean, more power to anybody who likes it. If you're into one of the songs, you'll probably be into all of them. There wasn't anything for me to latch on to personally, which is why I was pretty silent the whole time. Because you guys are talking about like, man, I like this about that song and that about that song. I'm like, which one was that? Which one was that? And I want to believe that on a level it's like me not trying, but I really tried. I really tried to like remember shit about it, but I wasn't gonna listen to it like another couple times because then I feel like I would start to resent it. Because then I'm like, damn, I'm listening to this album like 7, 8 times just so I can get something to talk about, and that's, I don't know, that's not what it's about.
Yeah, it sounds like you tried.
It's a 5.
I do have to agree with Alex about it kind of blended together, and because obviously I didn't say much, and that's because it was kind of hard to remember specific things about specific songs on the album. It did quite blend together, and that wasn't that much of a problem because I did enjoy it, but I do think that he has a point there.
The good life. The good life. Maybe it should have just been the all right life.
Got his ass.
Does anybody else have anything else they want to add, or does Cruz have any rebuttal he would like to make?
Cruz?
Cruz, are you alive?
I was just no. I had something to say, but it just really wouldn't matter. It would just it was childish.
Say it.
Wait,
and now I forgot it.
that's the whole point. Oh damn.
I was like, get into a childish debate with me. Take notes out of
It
Cameron's
was just
book.
like, I don't know, something about how everything sounds the same and how that was it's hypocritical when you talked about the Strokes album and how it didn't sound the same at all, and that's how you didn't like it. So I really don't know where you are in the spectrum of how. I guess you did say that if you dig it, then it's good to go, but you didn't dig it, so it's not.
If there is like, if an album is like,
so I
10
felt
tracks,
like this cohesive album is like, okay, this is a cohesive album that would be in the spectrum of like, okay, yeah, that's it.
Cohesion. The thing with cohesion is like, there's 2 dimensions. It's like you have stuff that sounds. It's like if you have an album that's 10 tracks and all 10 tracks sound different, but one of the tracks. But the best track is like 15 times as good as the worst track, then it's like, okay, well, I wish you would have taken away the worst track and made more tracks that were adjacent to the one that was good. But if everything on the album sounds different, but everything is like, within 1 or 2 degrees of each other, then it's like, that's fine because there's nothing that I'm like, there's not a track that made me want more to the point where the tracks that didn't have it were disappointing for me. And then when you have an album that's all this songs that all sound very similar, but they're all like, twice as good as something else you might listen to, then that's good. But when they're all half as good, it's like, well, I wish you would have, if you're going to make something that's 10 tracks of the same thing, I would have preferred it to be like, 10 tracks of something that was, something I would have been more into. It's like, it's definitely something that I bring up a lot with albums because I think it's something I end up picking up on. I think it's something that's very readily obvious when you listen to an album is like the way it flows and the cohesion and how the tracks at least stack up against one another. And I just think for this one, it was like everything was very similar in a direction that wasn't very good in my, like, wasn't something that I was into. That's just kind of my angle with that. No. Does anybody else have anything else they want to add?
Blueface baby.
Blueface baby.
Blueface baby.
All right. I think the last album we have is Cold Primates.
Yeah. So favorite worst nightmare is the second album by British rock band Arctic Monkeys.
Don't forget it's rock.
It's cruise music.
So I started listening to the Arctic Monkeys. Well, my brother got into them back when their 4th album had just come out, and their 4th album is their worst. It's not good. I don't like it.
Is that AM?
No, it's Suck It and See.
Mm.
AM is basically that album, but slightly better.
I tried listening to AM recently. I got to the second song. I was just like, this is boring. But continue.
I can understand that viewpoint. I find the album fairly enjoyable, but But AM is the album that I actually first started listening to them with because I thought it sounded like the other one but better, and and then eventually I worked my way back to the earlier ones, which I do think are actually better. I think that this is probably their best album. I do quite like their one right after this, and I do also very much like the newest one, but those are both in pretty different styles. This album is the first. This album being the second album is like the least they changed between two albums, and because after this one, like Alex Turner basically decided that like with every new album cycle he would pull like a David Bowie and make a new character and be a new person and do a completely different thing.
And there's nothing wrong with that, as long as
And
the music's quality.
yeah, and I actually think it's a really cool way to approach making albums, and I think it has worked out fairly well for the Arctic Monkeys. But of all the albums, this is the one where they are the least trying to play a part to be like theatrical in a way. Which it works which I think works out because in my opinion this is basically like a better version of the first album. Even though you could say that the first album is more of a kind of garage rock sound, while this one is more of a post-punk sound. Though ultimately fairly similar sound, and I think this one is better. There's a lot I could say and will say about this album, but I don't want to front load it all. I want to let you guys say a thing. So, how'd you guys like it?
What'd you think, Aaron?
I shall start, I guess. So, I know what you're thinking, Jack. I don't know what you're thinking at all.
I don't know what you're thinking.
Alright, I like where this is going.
Alright, so like alright, so I need to get you into the mood. Alright?
Okay, yeah.
I need to get you in my mood. Okay. You have night class.
Okay.
In 45 minutes. Actually, more like an hour. Okay? It's 20 degrees outside. You have to walk 10 minutes to get to the L. Alright? The L is the subway.
Right.
Okay? So, you put on your fucking... your long johns. You put on your pants. You put on the socks. You put on your other socks. You put on your shirt. You put on your sweater. You put on your coat. You put on your boots. You put on your gloves. You put your phone in your pocket. You put the dongle in the phone. Then you put the headphones in the dongle. Then you wrap the headphones around your neck. Okay? Then you put the earbuds in your ears. Then you take off your gloves because you're a monkey. And your gloves don't have like the thing where you can still like press your phone.
Yep.
Okay. So then you walk outside, and then you hit Brainstorm, which at first I thought was Brainstorm, and then you just get hit with the guitar, and it's lit.
It is lit. I agree that it is lit.
And this shit slaps almost all the way through, and you're sitting there listening to it, right? And then you get to Fluorescent Adolescent, the newest Eternal banger.
It is an eternal banger.
It is. It's at the top. It beat out Azalea Banks for being at the very top of the Eternal bangers.
Wow, that's an honor.
Yeah, you're welcome. And then you hit Only Ones Who Know. By this point, you're sitting down on the filthy ass train because like there's homeless people and shit, and you're salty because the song's slow. Ever the song was like mostly fast, and but you get over that eventually, and you keep listening, and then the songs become fast again for the most part, and the shit continues to slap like almost the whole way through. So I still don't know whether or not this is a 4 or a 5. It's really hard. I have to listen to other things near the bottom of my top 42 to discern whether I like it more or less than those albums. Well,
Right.
which is going to take a bit. However, this is like 1,000 times better than Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Like,
that
literally-
that album is like so weird, and it's definitely like a niche thing that I don't expect anyone to like ever, except for me. But
Yeah,
this album-
I can understand like why you like it, and I do kind of like it a little. Like I don't that album's like either a 2 or a 3, but
Right.
this is just 1,000 times better. I can understand why like Matt gets angry when he hears AM and Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino. Like I get it now.
Yeah.
Because like when we were doing that album before, he was like salty the
Oh,
whole
yeah,
time because he was and I'd be angry too. I'd literally be just as angry if a band made this and then they put out that. Like, I'd be so confused. But, I mean, whatever. I mean, they're gonna do what they want at the end of the day.
Yeah. This
But-
is the second and last fast lit album that they made.
Yeah. I like that. So, although the lyrical content, which is like my main thing about the album, is that the lyrical content does not at all speak to me. So it kind of irks me in some parts because I'm not exactly going to house parties.
I'm pretty
You know,
sure it
that's
speaks
not
to
exactly.
no one. It doesn't. They don't say anything.
Well,
Oh, I would disagree
Well,
with
that-
that.
that's the
but it
interesting
doesn't speak to
thing, is
anybody
that-
in this fucking Discord call.
it's almost all, except for some of the songs, it's almost all just music about like house partying and shit.
This-
But it's
this
interesting
speaks
because
to somebody
it's
who
rock
was British-
music
who
and
was
it's not
British.
just like stereotypical party music.
Yeah, this speaks to somebody who was British and in college, but like didn't get the girl they wanted to date in like their freshman biology class.
Yeah, it's about going. It's about trying to get in the clubs. In every other one, the bouncer's like, "Are you sure you should come in here?" You know, hey kid, you know, what? Go away. But he's like, "No, we're true lads. We got a party."
Yeah, gonna
So,
go to
like-
Nando's.
If I weren't a salty virgin, I'm pretty sure I would have no problem with the lyrical content. But since I am, I do, slightly.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I think that the lyrics are a little. I'm not gonna say they're deep because they aren't. But they're like there's more to
Some
it.
of them are deep, like on
There's-
Fluorescent Adolescent, where he's singing about like a woman that is no
settled
longer
down, yeah.
in her 20s and settled down, and he makes it sound like damn, it must suck to
Yeah.
like be an old lady.
Yeah. So
Like,
sometimes.
and that's my favorite song of the album.
Yeah.
And even if he was just saying nothing on the album like the other ones, it still might be an eternal banger. But since like the lyrics are actually fucking like it's actually cool that he's singing about that, which is like a
Right.
complete alien experience to me, obviously. But it's
Right.
I don't know. It's still something more than Brainstorm, right?
Right. Well,
And-
I think what I was gonna say is that I think that there's a degree to which some of the lyrics on this album have a similar appeal to what you might say the lyrics on Spose was, where like
Yeah.
where it's about crafty wordplay stuff.
It's about the
like-
lifestyle.
It's about it's
Yeah.
about like just being a lad and making lad jokes where he's truly ladding it out, and like Brainstorm is like a kind of like an encapsulation of that, where like it's like
Yeah, I mean
All
that
he's-
song definitely sounds tongue in cheek. Like
all
the
he's really
lyrics and
saying
the
is
way he
like, oh,
says
this
them.
guy is
He's
Chad,
a Chad.
and I'm kind of salty about it, but like the
Right.
way it is it's like the way he delivers it too is like it's like there's the like when he says we're so grateful that you've blessed us with your effortlessness and we're so strangely comforted, and like the way he delivers that line is just like so just like it's so good. So yeah, while I don't think like the lyrics are necessarily appreciable for any kind of message they're trying to send, I think that they're highly appreciable from a humorous and delivery standpoint.
Yeah, like Brainstorm, despite the lyrics like being what they are, it's probably my second favorite song on the album, like second or third. I actually Jerk Reaction also put in Eternal Bangers, but I took it off after a couple minutes because I realized that it
Right.
wasn't. but I really fuck with that song. My least favorite song is D is for Dangerous. I just felt like it was the first two songs, but a little worse.
That's understandable.
And Only Ones Who Know is annoyingly slow, but you get over it if you just pretend it's the interlude and keep it moving, I guess.
That was actually the song I was talking about when I was talking about that one goddamn on the Spose album, where I was saying like I do think that there are ways that you can do a song that's a break from the usual that works, and the reason I think that song works in the context of this album is because like it kind of like the entire album does kind of like an arc where like it starts off really energetic and like the end of Balaclava it kind of tones it down a little bit, and then you get to Fluorescent Adolescent, which is kind of like less aggressive a song, and
It's
then
lower BPM.
you get to the slow song, and then
Even despite that, like the transition between Fluorescent Adolescent and Only Ones Who Know is still like super jarring to my ears.
Yeah, it's pretty jarring, but I think they did it better with the next transition to Do Me a Favor, which is a song that is basically just one big build up back up to the intensity, right?
Yeah.
So I feel I feel like the way they incorporated like a kind of big arc into the album to make that song fit, it makes it a lot better than Goddamn was on Spose.
I Goddamn on Spose is a lot better than Only Ones Who Know, in my opinion.
Oh, that's fine.
But yeah, I still fuck with this album. 505 slaps.
Oh yeah, that's a good song.
Yeah. I always like I'm not sure how to explain this, but when the last song in the album has like in the vocal melody it kind of has longer stretches almost, you could say. Because when he's saying like I'm going back to 505, he like draws it out kind of, and it gives it a fitting mood for being the end of the album.
I think it's also a really good little bit of like, I don't know. I like the way he plays with the end of the one bar of the vocal melody going into the next lyric, like going back to 505, whether it's a 7-hour flight or a 45-minute drive.
Yeah,
and then it's starting it again.
Yeah.
I also like. I mean, it does something that's near and dear to my heart, which is very post-rocky in a way. Like if you just have the instrumental, it starts off really slow and sparse, and then it builds up to some crazy shit at the end. It's like actually almost a post-rock song without the lyrics. Which I think is fascinating, because it really just like everything comes together and crashes at the end, which I really admire. I really like the fact that it builds up like that. This album absolutely fucking shocked me. Did not anticipate liking this album nearly as much as I ended up liking it.
Same.
This album's really fucking good. I always, in my mind, you have the Arctic Monkeys in the same conversation as like the Strokes and Interpol and shit all the time.
Yeah.
Because they all came out kind of, around the same time. And I always, in my mind, was like, the Arctic Monkeys is the one for Tumblr girls. And
yeah,
then,
that is kind of how
for real men. But
it became because of AM.
But then, yeah, that's the thing is, then you listen to when I gave my rating for this on Rate Your Music, I was reading some of the reviews people gave for this album, and there was a surprising amount of hate towards this album for it not sounding like the first one, which from what I gather is more like, I don't know if I say punky, but it's more it's got more attitude and people were trying to wanted that attitude on
it's
the
a bit more
follow-up.
like garage rocky.
Yeah, but this album is, I still think that there's a lot of that like attitude, especially in the lyrics. One of my new favorite lyrics of all time is on this album off the song Teddy Picker. Who'd want to be a man of the people when there's people like you?
Yeah.
Like that's some shit that like your dad catches you drinking in your room at like 17 and he's like, you gotta get your life together. He's like, man, you gotta be a man of the people. It's like, Dad, who would want to be a man? There's people like my dad out there, man. which when you say it like that makes it sound really sarcastic and bad, but I really like that line a lot. I think it's really good. The Bad Thing, it's a super banger. If You Were There, Beware. It's like almost psychedelic. The guitars, it's weird. It's like the tone. I don't know how to explain it really.
I know what you mean.
But in the beginning, it's very like 60s.
On this album, they started. The first album has like a fairly uniform tone. In this album, they started experimenting with like more like using different guitar sounds, using like trying to like kind of create a soundscape, if you will. Like, and that's like that song is one of the best examples where it starts with like that heavy fuzz riff and then transitions
Yeah,
like
fuzz. That's the fucking word I was looking for. That's
Yeah.
what they use in the psychedelic music.
Yeah, and so the album after this one is a lot more heavy on that kind of stuff because that one kind of is basically just a psych rock album.
I think I like how that's not like the only thing they were going for. I think I kind of admire that. I think like I mean I like that. I feel like I might like it less if it was like overwhelming. Does that make sense? Like I like that
Oh,
it was
yeah,
just like
yeah.
the one song that I picked it up on. But this
Yeah.
album came out of fucking left field and punched me in the dick and was like, I'm a good album. Like, what the fuck are you on? Like, what are you thinking? Balaclava. It was pretty much. I had a similar. Only Ones Who Know was my least favorite song because I was like, oh, it's slow. And then I got to 505 and I was like, I'm not gonna like this either because it's slow and I want to be
Yeah,
fast.
the first note is just like, oh shit, this song is molasses, but
Yeah, and then
Then it
but then
becomes-
505 builds up and the lyrics come in and it's like, what the fuck is 505? Is it what does that mean? They don't have area codes like that in fucking England. Like, what is that?
yeah, I was thinking that like, what
I
is
looked
this
it up
man
and
saying?
I looked it up and they were like, is it a hotel room? Is it a bar? Is it his house number? Like, what the fuck is it? And I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll leave the
Mystery.
And I like that they had the line, "Don't you know he's your favorite worst, or she's your favorite worst nightmare?" But it wasn't. The song wasn't called that. So shout out to that. Like the name of the
Yeah.
album, they
Is a
got the
line,
album
not-
title, yeah, from the line. What'd you
Yeah.
think, Cruz? You've been eerily silent on this.
I am glad that the Arctic Monkeys exist, even if they are Tumblr girl status. Those Tumblr girls have the potential of being a semblance of person who actually likes music. So, props to them. Hope they actually use their brains and spread out somewhere. This album, Arctic Monkeys is a band that I have put in the stroke status of I need to listen to them because they're supposed to be great. Like, no one complains about, man, I hate this band, it's on the radio, this shit sucks. Like, they're representing rock in an era where rock is dead. We're the only reason that rock is on the radio is if they fuse hip hop or rap or electronic music into it, like Imagine Dragons, which yeah, so they actually have instrumentalists, which I'm really happy. I wish that, you know, Mac DeMarco could open for the Monkees and then he could be played on the radio so that people who actually care about music can, you know, be out there killing it. But the Arctic Monkeys are always killing it in Britain. I hope they have some good success. I heard that they pulled.
They are British, right?
I hope.
Yes, they are.
I hope,
They're
Yeah.
very
I hope that
Because
since
I
they
fucking-
pulled an Aladdin Sane on the new album, that it doesn't really go down for them. I hope they don't make a Black Star.
Yikes.
Even though Black Star is supposed to be quality, I'm just brainlit. So I'm really a fan of the Arctic Monkeys. They're like out in the shadows. I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, kill it, boys. Let's go. My roommate's a real big fan of them. So I've heard them via osmosis, and I've had no complaints about the music whatsoever. This album in particular, I think Brainstorm's alright. Teddy Picker, D is for Dangerous, Balaclava, highlights of the album. They really kill it. This is what I want to hear from the Monkees. Especially Teddy Picker and the chorus to that one. Like, I just can't stop listening to that song. It's ridiculous.
Confetti Part 2.
Literally Confetti Part 2. If your second song slaps, I'm probably going to like your album. Like, your first song can literally eat shit. Your second song has to pull it up, you know? If the first song's not amazing, the second song, you can do it. But D is for Dangerous is great. Balaclava, also great. It's just as good as Teddy Picker. Fluorescent Adolescence is alright. The only problem I have with the album is once it hits only Ones Who Know, I clock out. I clock out until I feel like I do remember Old Yellow Bricks, but then I don't. And then 505 kills it. Like, once 6 through 11, I feel like in the back of my mind, in the psychosis, in the id, like, I remember those songs and they're great songs, but every time I listen to it, I can't remember a thing about those songs. And I'm sure they're great, and I certainly had no problem, like, man, I fucking hate these songs suck. They're just more of the same. I really don't connect with the lyrics. I guess I'm not a lad who goes to Cheeky Nando's, and that's just something I can't connect to. Maybe if he said Denny's at Fort
Denny's.
Jordan or
Go to a
IHOP,
cheeky Wendy's
like
with-
maybe
cheeky Wendy's with the lad.
if he told me about IHOP, I'd be like, that's it.
What about
Simple
Wendy's?
Maybe Wendy's at 12 or 1 a.m. Yeah, maybe I can connect to that, but since I'm not a lad, I'm not someone who named is what's that stupid name?
You're not
Callum.
a ledge.
Callum.
You're not Callum.
Yeah, if I'm not a Callum. My name starts with C, but I ain't Callum. Like it just can't be for me. So overall, great. I love listening to it. The intro really kills it. Just overall, just a solid album. I hope they make good music so that people who think that guitar is cool will be like, man, that sounds really great, and they buy a guitar and then they make music.
Oh, if you're hoping for them to make like quality guitar music, you're
You
out of
sound
luck.
such like Dave Grohl right now. It's cute.
You're out of luck because the newest album of theirs is piano led, but it still is fairly mostly actual instruments.
Oh,
it's,
so they pulled the Rush. That's unlucky. Oh, really fucking unlucky.
This I just checked, by the way, Jack. This is tied for the highest rated album in the podcast. It's like altogether, that's not one of mine. So, and this is the only one that you've had that's even fucking approached this level. So shout out to you. Not to hate, but generally you pick some more. What I forgot to add, something that I think I want to say, is I have like a repertoire of it. I'm not a musician. I don't play an instrument, but in the band spectrum, I do like to feel like I can't sing, but I like the idea of like writing songs and being a singer for a band. So I sort of have like a repertoire of like, a few albums that I'm like, these are the kind of stuff that like if I wanted to make songs either lyrically or structurally, like these are the ones similar to what I would want to make. And this album's now in that rotation because I don't know, I like the attitude so much. The attitude of this album is like some dude who like held the door open for a girl and like was shocked that she didn't give him a blowjob afterwards. And I mean that in like the best part, like the best way possible. Like I mean that as nothing more. Like this is a dude who's like so outside of what's actually going on in society and just like I don't know, just in social constructs that he's like, man, people like if he would recommend you a song, and if you didn't think it was the greatest song ever, he'd call you like a fucking idiot to your face. Well, I don't know if what I'm saying makes any sense, but it's got
I kind of get what you're saying.
like it's got that kind of attitude, like that, like I don't know, like I'm way smarter than everybody kind of attitude to it. Like I can just imagine him like walking up to some old lady who like cut him in line at Nando's and just singing Fluorescent Adolescent to her. Like, you're old and washed up. Like, get a fucking life, Granny. Like, that's just, I don't know. And I think that's something, I really like the tone, like, lyrically and vocally on this album a lot. And I mean, obviously, new Fluorescent Adolescent going into it, great song. Probably still my favorite song on the album, as normie as that is. But probably still my favorite. If not that, then definitely 505, because that song punched me in the dick. But I may have to give the first album a shot because I think I'll probably like the first album. Might be a little apprehensive about getting into the rest of it.
Oh yeah,
But
I definitely think that
good.
all of you. I think that all of you should
this is a
listen to
9.
the first album if you haven't.
9 out of 10.
Because the
Yeah,
first
that's a-
album is fairly similar.
Oh,
I've listened to that one and I really enjoyed it.
I was surprised. Like I said, there was a lot of complaints that this wasn't on the same level as the first album, which I thought was just interesting because I figured like. From what I knew about, I knew like one song off the first album, and it didn't seem like that far of a departure. So I thought that was interesting that was a recurring theme in the comments, similar to how the Strokes, "Come Down the Sheet" had like, "Oh, it's not the first album" sort of reviews.
Every Strokes album it's not the first
Yeah,
album.
and like,
It's
and
not-
Arctic
Oh.
Monkeys does get that too. And Arctic Monkeys kind of does get that, but they've kind of avoided it more by more clearly defining their albums after this one as like separate stylistically, and so that has kind of gotten them away from some of that criticism.
I was gonna bounce off of something that Cruz said earlier about how he said he was listening to like Arctic Monkeys and Strokes because like they get such a good reputation, especially in this day and age. And what I think is interesting is there's like kind of a big four for this style of music in like the early 2000s. It was like Arctic Monkeys, The Strokes, Interpol, and then like I'm sure there was somebody else that I'm just forgetting.
Franz Ferdinand, probably.
Yeah, stuff like that. And I think it's always interesting that like, I mean, this is just me kind of going on a side little rant, but they each had like in the same way that like the big four for like thrash metal had their own like thing where it was like Metallica, Slayer, Metallica, Anthrax, Megadeth, and it's like, you know, Metallica's the popular one. Like Metallica's the popular one, and then like Slayer was the one that, you know, you had like the one that was like the popular one, and then you had the one that was like, oh, if you're a true fan, you're into this one, and then one of them was good with the critics and shit. And like this kind of garage rock revival thing had like, yeah, the Arctic Monkeys were the really popular one, and the Strokes were kind of like the, oh, if you're really a garage rock fan, you'll like, is this it? And then Interpol ended up being really like critically acclaimed, but not a lot of people ended up getting into it like commercially.
Critics have
as
no
much.
interest.
Well, no, actually, I think it's interesting that, like, it's like this is like, oh, Arctic Monkeys are a Tumblr band, but it's like the end of this album in 2007. Like early Arctic Monkeys actually like slaps. Like, do I want to know? Maybe that's why the Tumblr girls like Arctic Monkeys, but like,
Are you mine?
but they should listen to the fucking, they should listen to the whole album. Like the other stuff is good.
Well, they only listen
So
to AM because it, you know, it's the killer. It's the T-shirt album.
Or even if they're like off Less and Adolescent, such a good song. It's like okay, I'd say it's a good song, but have you heard like 505? Like, if you tell me your favorite Arctic Monkey song is 505, like you can get it. You know what I'm saying? You can get it.
That entire movement of like the early to mid 2000s like garage rock and post punk revival scenes produced a lot of my like favorite rock music ever. And
yeah, I like the vibe a lot.
But like of all of that, this is probably my favorite album. Like the only thing that I'll say like, is this it comes close? But like I think this is.
I think I like the lyrical tone on Is This It a little bit more because I feel like it's like the same thing except like that guy's washed up. Like he's been there. This guy's never been there, but the guy on Is This It like was there when he was like 20 and now he's like 23.
Well, yeah. To me, like the tone and attitude is kind of different. Like, Is This It is like, you know, being that kind of like
punk rebel.
Yeah, it's like, but
punk
he's like
rebel, sleazy guy.
Sleazy, always drunk punk rebel guy. Whereas like the first two Arctic Monkeys album, the attitude is like him being this like young guy who doesn't understand why the bouncer at the clubs won't let him in. He wants
to be the Is This It guy, but is like can't because he doesn't know why. I don't know.
Because the bouncer won't let him in the clubs yet.
Yeah. And this is also there's also songs on this that went into the sex playlist. So shout out to 505 for coming on when I'm going full motion.
Are You Mine in there? They won't know. They'll be like, who's this artist? And then you're like,
I don't know if I said this on the podcast. I think I've told you guys this outside the podcast, but I don't know if I said it on here or not. I have a playlist for when I get laid. Whenever the fuck that happens, and it's really it's mostly nonsense stuff just to see if there's a point where it like slows down and it's like, what the fuck are we listening to? like for those of you who watch the other ones, there's like there's like water dripping on breads in there. Like there's a few post rock songs. There's like a couple Romanian folk music songs.
Post rock is the patrician music to bang to. I'm 100% sure. I'm on the post rock grind. I'm pretty sure.
Like there's a bunch of other shit in there, but I had to throw in some. Like there's one 1975 song in there to kind of lure them in.
No, that should be like the second song because the second song has to pick back up.
You hit shuffle. Or sorry, you start with or you start with 505 or something, and then you put shuffle on so the next one that comes on.
You gotta make sure that the 1975 track is the second song, and then you shuffle.
Brother Man Bill is in there.
There you go.
So I could possibly nut on a girl to fucking Brother Man Bill. What I'm trying to say is that there's songs on here that went in there as like these are normal songs, but still
normal songs for normal people.
Yeah, but shout out to me getting fucking my dick sucked and then water dripping on bread comes on and then she stops and leaves. But
if she's that far, she will stop.
This is a 9. This is a 9, and if I did halves, this would be like a 9.5.5.
If you get laid to it, it's a 10.
If I get laid to it, everything's a 10.
Hell yeah.
I got a few things I want to say about the album before we're done. The first is that there's surprisingly like progressive strong song structures on some of these. Like in particular, you got Brainstorm, which has no chorus structure. It's just like a
I like
long.
the jungle drums are cool too.
Oh yeah, the drumming's insane. Like the drummer for
There's like no
20s
symbol on this album that I could remember, which I really like. I don't
But-
like people who use fucking symbol.
I fuck with the symbol
Every
so
jazz
much,
drummer.
but
I don't
Yeah,
like symbol.
so
I didn't even notice that there wasn't a symbol on this album.
Well, there is some. I'm sure there is some, but it's
there
definitely not. Like, I definitely remember the
Yeah,
fucking primal George of the Jungle drumming.
he's very good with the hats, but he's not aggressive at all with using like the crash cymbals in the rides. Like
That's good.
which I think is really good. He's actually
Yeah,
an
hats are fun.
insanely
I
good
don't like
drummer.
the
He's
crash
one of the
cymbals.
best ever. He's like his ability to just like keep like really fast rhythms while like is insane. But then he does like crazy shit like the opening of the Brainstorm on top of it, where he's just like doing these insane tom rolls, and it's like, okay, you're a cool lad. I like you. But yeah, so in addition, you got Brainstorm, which has no chorus, and then you got like If You Were There Everywhere, which is probably which has kind of become my favorite song of the album, and partly because like I love the riff that opens and closes the song, but I mean, but it's made better by the fact that that's the only time you hear it. It's like the song structure isn't like your typical verse chorus. It has like these parts, and it goes places, and that's
It's almost like it's almost like a song that would be in a Tarantino film. Like if you just took the opening bit, like it's that vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel that.
Just to be like the first 10 seconds, and then it gets into that dude singing, and it's like, oh wait, wrong movie. Whoops.
And yeah, you guys should listen to some of their other stuff if you haven't.
I think this is the first Jack album to receive almost universal acclaim.
It has
Probably.
instruments in it, played by real people.
God, it's not a machine. He's young and arrogant and hates everything I stand for, but he's cool about it.
All right.
No beeps and
Well-
boops. Still makes a good album.
Oh yeah, and they're such lads. Like the gang vocals and all the background shit, and like how they're all just screaming every once in a while. It's just good.
Oh, the other thing I
That's-
forgot to
That's a
mention.
sense of camaraderie,
That's why I call it lads music. It's music for you and your lads
I
to
respect
sing
that.
to.
Hell yeah.
One of the other things I forgot to mention. What fucking song was it? Is it 505? There's I'm gonna fucking hurt myself. There's
what
some
about
song
it?
on this album that has the part where the vocals sound like he's speaking into a like a walkie-talkie kind of, like the really like no
Compressed?
instruments. No, it's like it's the quality of the voice is like
Lo-fi.
fuzzy. Yeah, lo-fi, because it sounds like he's talking through like a walkie-talkie.
Oh,
or
it's
something.
the last part of If You Were There Beware before
Is
the
it?
riff comes back in. Yeah.
Yeah, that part. Yeah, it's like he's like on the other end of the phone, and I have a remarkably fucking soft spot in my heart for music that does that. It's like one of my favorite vocal things you can do, is have that like, or like any song that's like they cut it out and he's talking to a bullhorn. Like shout out to that. So shout out to the last part of If You Were There Beware.
Shout out to that one song on the Hey the Violet album where she's screaming megaphone. Shouts out to that.
Hell
I
yeah.
don't think I remember that one. Maybe I take that back.
Hell
Maybe
yeah.
I like it when it says low key.
That was
as
good
you
shit.
say.
More
I like when it
megaphones.
cuts-
You know,
when it cuts
it would have
everything
been better
out
if it was a
other than-
megaphone through a walkie-talkie, that the other walkie-talkie
God.
played through another megaphone, and
Yeah,
it played
attached-
right
attached-
into a cassette player that was recording.
And then attached right to a can that was on a string attached to another can.
That's some real lo-fi. That's not lo-fi, that's hi-fi.
I love there's not something on this album that I'm like I don't like, but there wasn't that thing that was like this is a 10 and not a 9. So it's very close, and I think this is all around a remarkably solid album.
Cool.
Thank you, Jack.
You're welcome.
It's the
That's
last
good.
time you'll hear me say that.
Yeah.
I might go on my way to pick something like this again. Just
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta
Yeah.
pick some bullshit now.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Yeah,
it
I
feel nice? This is how I felt when you guys like youth pictures. I was like, God damn, ugh, so warm and fuzzy.
all right. This has been a good show.
Good shit. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you for turning in to WLTM.fm.xm.em.
Link's Awakening.
Part
DX.
2 XD. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Have a good one.
Bye.